Welcome to this edition of Hindsight is Horrifying, the show where three mostly normal and somewhat cynical adults discuss life as members of the TV generation. Now here are your hosts, Darth Jada, Jason Mitchell, and Adam B.
Hello.
Good evening.
Welcome back to another exciting and thrill-packed episode of Hindsight is Horrifying. Tonight, we're going back to a wonderful time.
Ah, yes. The 90s.
The 90s. And the music cut out, so...
It's a grunge thing.
We only paid for a little bit of the music.
It's a grunge thing, Jason.
Yeah, it's a grunge thing, yeah.
What is grunge? We'll get to it.
We're going back to 1992. Not only 1992, but three of the names that made the 90s.
Wait,
Don Simpson.
92.
Six.
Maybe Roku.
96, sorry.
Yeah, 96.
Sorry.
Okay.
96.
I was wondering if one of the streaming channels lied to me again, because they do that quite often.
No, it's Mandela Effect.
Got it.
I'm right.
Got it.
Three of the names that made the 1990s what it was. Don Simpson, Jerry Bruckheimer,
and Michael Bay. Yeah.
And so that should probably clue some of you in.
Helicopters, explosions,
And Sean Connery.
and just for a little change of pace, some more explosions.
And a weird car chase that has no reason to be in the whole
seriously,
fucking movie.
I wrote a note about that.
We
We'll have to
are-
get to it, 'cause, oh my God.
We are doing the 1996 classic Nicolas Cage and Sean Connery movie,
The Rock.
which is...
Lordy.
There's a lot to
something else.
Well, and I have to say, watching it, it's very stupid.
Yeah, I
very
noticed
dumb.
that myself. Yeah.
But I really had a good time watching it, and I would
yeah.
have gladly paid money to have. In fact, I did pay money and see it in the theater.
It made a lot
These
of
were
money.
the type of movies
Yeah.
that were the rides. Like, who said that about the Marvel movies, that they're just like a ride? They don't really have a lot of substance, but...
I think
there was
it
like
Scorsese.
a big, yeah, it was Scorsese.
Scorsese.
There was a big debate about it online. People, got upset on Facebook. Who knows? But these were those kind of movies. Like, The Rock was just pure action. You were there for the explosions and the excitement and the car chases. You knew what you were signing up for when you went to a Jerry Bruckheimer, Michael Bay,
But
Don
it felt
Simpson
like
production.
a Transformers film, didn't it? I mean,
Well,
the same
it's Michael Bay.
movement, Yeah.
but a lot better than a Transformers film.
Oh, yeah.
Oh yes. No
it's-
Shia LaBeouf. He was still in diapers, wasn't he?
Yeah. Well, it's a
Probably still
movie.
wears diapers.
Well, possibly. Yeah.
It's his
That-
kink.
Ew. Adam.
Actually, no. He's cleaning his life up.
Really?
In fact,
Using
no. In
wet
fact,
wipes?
no. This is actually a totally true story.
Stop it.
He's become a Catholic.
Yeah, he was shooting a biopic of Padre Pio, and he converted to Catholicism after or during the production of the movie.
Does he know anything about Catholicism?
Well, no, I think that's the thing, is that he got so so deep into the research, and he was talking to priests and lay people, and yeah, and apparently it seems to be a pretty genuine thing, and so wish him all the best.
It's not a popular thing to do, converting to Catholicism later in life, and not for
No, I know tons of people.
no,
who have.
but
Yeah.
like for just a singular reason, like, hey, I like the spirituality of this religion, I'm going to join, as opposed to don't a lot of people do it because of marriage or because of circumstance?
yeah.
As opposed to
yeah.
being convinced to just convert on your own. I don't know.
No, but they've got RCIA, the whole thing of the but that's a whole other thing. Let's talk about
The Rock.
a silly movie.
You're gonna do that voice all night, aren't you?
I can't help it.
I mean, you dressed up, as we
I
can
did.
see, hindsighters.
I'm one of the minions.
Mr. Brown
I'm
came to
just
play.
a captain.
You're the John C. McGinley of the crew.
I know
with the black backdrop,
Stan
it's
from
like
Stan Against Evil is in this movie, and it's
Dr.
awesome.
Cox
Yeah.
from Scrubs. Yes.
So
Okay,
many.
So many roles.
That's fair. That's fair.
That's probably
I think,
his most famous role. Like, that's what the most people know him for, I would bet.
I think he's one of those people that it's like Doctor Who. It's sort of like who
Which reiteration of
which
John C. McGinley?
John C. McGinley,
Do you hold dearest?
you hold dear, yeah. And for me, it's Stand Against Evil, because
there's
that show is really, really
There's
good.
also Office Space. He doesn't play a huge role in
yeah.
Office Space. He's one of the two guys kind of
right. He's
appraising the company.
Yeah.
And what's Ron...
Jeremy?
No.
Yeah, don't go there. Ron Livingston.
Ron Livingston, thank
Yes.
you. He's one of the guys that Ron Livingston is like, oh yeah, I maybe work for about 5 minutes all week long. And John C. McGinley's like,
yeah.
this guy's a genius.
He's management material.
And he was in a horrible, horrible movie with John Travolta and Tim Allen where they were trying to be bikers for a weekend. They're all these dads trying to regain their
I have
sense of...
no idea.
It's called Hog Wild. And it's just as terrible as it sounds.
That
Yes.
sounds pretty fucking awful.
John C. McGinley is the cop chasing them around and trying to get involved with them. It's quite interesting.
Well, so one of the things that I like about The Rock is I always love it when a movie very obviously begins with somebody going, hey, what about a movie set in, and they just like, oh, yeah, Alcatraz. Yeah. What about Alcatraz? What's a movie we could do in Alcatraz?
Where you start with the location and you build a story
Yeah,
based on it.
Yeah. The hook comes up
That's
first.
the
Like,
epicenter.
yeah, Jerry Bruckheimer wakes up in the middle of the night. Alcatraz. I'm going to do a picture about Alcatraz. And then you go, well, what's going to happen? Okay, bad guys will take it over. There'll be
But why?
hostages.
Clint Eastwood will be in it. Oh, wrong one.
Yeah.
At least 40 explosions,
40?
lots of gunfire. I said at least.
I was going to say, that's
That was
like...
the starting number. He just
Yeah.
has to, gain some revenue, and then he builds on, more and more explosions. But before we move on too further,
Yes.
we do have to discuss the synopsis.
Please
so
do.
if you're like Darth Jader, this is a movie I had heard of a lot, but somehow had never seen. I felt like I had seen
That
it
amazes me.
because it's just one of those action movies from the 90s, and I would have been just the right age for my parents to not pay for a babysitter. It was cheaper to take me to the movies than it was to hire a babysitter for the night. So I would have been about 8 years old when this movie came out.
Yeah.
And maybe I saw it, but if
Oh,
I
no,
do,
they're
I don't
establishing
remember
the
it at all.
stakes.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I wrote that down. I was like, oh, look at that. Who is that? David or Dan Morse? What's his
David
name?
Morse.
David Morse.
Oh, okay.
I was like, oh, he left his officer behind so the audience would understand just how effective this nerve gas is.
That's exactly it.
that
That's the whole point of it.
That causes boils and sores of biblical times. Like, what kind of nerve gas is this?
Well, it's sort of like they took VX nerve gas and then they just added the whole you melt part to it.
Yes, the bad news is that the gas is corrosive.
Yeah. Well,
It's eating through our suits. That's a few minutes from now, but still.
yeah. So the movie is going to hinge on this heist of a very terrible chemical weapon, and a lot of people don't realize that back in the 90s, chemical weapons. What?
I was about to read the synopsis when you're done with your point.
Oh no, I was going to say back in the 90s, like chemical weapons was a thing that actually got talked about on the news a lot.
Yes.
It's weird how these movies were topical at the time, but then you sort of lose all of that connection.
Yeah, well, and there's a moment coming up that reminded me of Mr. Brown. So before we get to that, the synopsis.
There is?
Yes, because Nick Cage buys a $600 LP. Long play.
Sounds better.
Yes, so it does.
Oh, I should have. I don't have that. I think we have
See?
that one.
That's why
Okay,
it
all
reminded
right.
me of
And I should have brought it.
Fair enough.
have that
Fair
already.
enough.
Oh,
Fair enough.
I'm Adam. But so the synopsis for the third time: a mild-mannered chemist and an ex-con must lead the counterstrike when a rogue group of military men threaten a nerve gas attack from Alcatraz against San Francisco. How could they find San Francisco in the fog?
Well, here's
That's my question.
Yeah, you blew the microphone all the way out.
Good.
On that. Yeah. Yeah, and it's funny because that's
Don't
You're
another.
both deaf now.
Please
Well,
don't blow
well,
the
that's
microphone.
that's another
Not
weird
in
thing.
front of you.
Oh.
Ew.
That's another weird thing about the topicality and how things change. Because if this movie was made today and it was like we're gonna wipe out San Francisco, everyone would go fuck it. We don't really give a
It's
shit.
to document poop anymore.
Yeah, exactly. It's like
Wait.
oh no, San Francisco is going to be even worse.
Excuse me?
Well, ask Jason. They have
Big poop problem.
Poop spotting. Yeah.
Big poop problem.
Human feces is
in-
everywhere.
Humans
what?
taking shits everywhere.
Yeah.
Why?
Because they
It-
gotta go. Haven't you had to go?
It's basically an open air homeless camp and drug market.
Yeah.
Oh, that's exciting.
That's why everybody's leaving San Francisco.
I was unaware of that.
Oh yeah, San Francisco's.
I've never been.
Yeah.
Never experienced San
It-
Francisco.
it
It, sounds
used to be-
like a pass.
It used to be a pretty neat, pretty quirky, cool, neat town.
It was a quirky turkey town.
Yes.
So, yes, the mild-mannered chemist, which from the synopsis alone, for whatever reason, I thought the chemist was going to be female, but it's Nick Cage. And the ex-con is, of course, Sean Connery.
Yes.
who may or may not be James Bond in this movie.
Yeah.
There's a popular fan theory that he's
Yeah.
actually James Bond.
It had a
could be.
very Dr. No sort of vibe with them trying to stop a massive attack of nuclear proportions, but it's nerve gas.
It's actually, we should address that. There is, okay, so the point of the movie basically is Nicolas Cage is going to have to team up with Sean Connery, who is an ex-con who escaped from Alcatraz. The only person who's ever escaped from Alcatraz was Sean Connery, who I kept wanting to call James Mason. What is what's his name in the movie?
James Mason, who is called John Mason.
John Mason, yeah. So it's not James Mason.
But you haven't said why they have to do all this.
Well, because Ed Harris,
Darn you, Ed
Ed, I
Harris.
have no Harris.
Ed, who, you know, we always feel bad when Ed Harris is a bad guy. I always want Ed Harris to be the good guy.
Yeah, that surprised me.
Yeah.
He's because I mean, it's almost the exact same role for him, regardless of whether he's good or bad. He's the man in the authoritative position. That's
Right.
always Ed Harris, but
Yeah.
this time he's the bad guy.
Well,
But what's his driving? You know,
Ed
influence?
Harris-
What is he trying to achieve?
Ed Harris is a legendary Marine. He's a brigadier general, Medal of Honor winner, all this other sort of stuff. And
man's a hero.
And it's established that he is very upset because during Desert Storm, well, this was sort of the capstone of it. During Desert Storm, 20 of his men were left to die. Mm-hmm. They didn't even get military funerals. Families didn't get benefits, et cetera, et cetera. So he is going to threaten the United States government and say, if you don't give $100 million to me, and I will disperse that money to the families of these Marines who died.
And then the rest of it I'll spend the way I see fit.
Yeah, at my discretion.
At my
I will disperse at my discretion. But, well, he's going to pay his men, you know.
Yeah.
That's true, because he has a team of like
Yeah,
roughly
he's-
50 guys.
A lot of
who-
guys that
all
are-
of whom
Yeah.
he
Yeah.
promises the lump sum
a
of $1
million,
million.
yeah.
Yeah.
And,
So
and they have to go to a non-extradition country, which is a thing that used to exist in movies.
yeah.
You went to, you know,
Belize.
yeah, Belize, and we can't touch you there. I think we can.
You went
Yeah.
to Chile where
And ironically, if anyone should know better, it would be him.
you would think
As
so.
a guy who says, yeah, we went to China and like killed people in China during the Vietnam War, he should probably realize that the whole non-extradition thing isn't going to hold up very well.
No. But Jason, I've heard you mention something to the effect that movies and the media in general never show a realistic scene where it comes to a woman telling her significant other that she's pregnant. I think that this scene with Nicolas Cage and his girlfriend Carla comes surprisingly close to reality.
I felt his pain.
Yeah, I know.
I
You
really
just
did. I did.
Nicolas Cage's face.
He always looks dazed and confused to some extent, but when Carla marched in and said, "I had such an interesting day, honey. How about you?" And meanwhile, he really has had an action-packed day where some terrorists sent him some other nerve gas.
Sarin nerve gas. yeah.
That was going to melt his suit, and he had to
Which, by the
inject
way,
his
that's not what
heart.
sarin does.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it didn't feel super scientific.
Yeah.
It felt more like a Batman movie.
Well, they should have just. It's weird that they even said sarin. They should have just said some other made-up name.
make something up. We'll run with it. It's a
Yeah.
Nick Cage movie. Come
Exactly. It's a
on.
Nicolas Cage movie. We're gonna go, look. If I've bought the ticket to see Nicolas Cage and
You
Sean
know what you
Connery in
signed
an
up
action
for.
movie, you can pretty much do whatever you want.
Yeah.
Cares what the
You
name
know?
of it is.
And that's fine. That's fine because there's parts in the movie that even the director jokes about. It doesn't make any sense, but says, "Well, it was entertaining." Like there's a scene coming.
Exactly.
There's a scene coming up much later in the movie because Sean Connery doesn't even show up until like half an hour in.
And then the movie doesn't even kick off with its action until almost an hour
It's
in.
a full hour.
This movie is like.
but it's actually no. But it does have. That's
it's got
actually
action,
that's what I
but
liked
not
about
the action
it.
related to the problem at hand. Like, and I wrote a note about that because I was like, okay, the movie really takes off at like an hour in, and the problem is that we've been given 24 hours by this rogue military
40.
crew. 40?
40.
Oh, at
40.
some point somebody said 24 hours,
Yeah.
so maybe we were partially
I
through it.
remember hearing 40 and going, that's
That's an
That's an odd number to say.
Maybe he's a brigadier general. He knows how difficult it's going to be for everybody to maneuver.
It's almost like I'm going to give you just enough time to put together an awesome operation to stop me.
Do you want to do a heist?
Yeah, you know.
But no, so, okay, 40 hours. But either way, we spend about 7 of them trying to, tame Sean Connery, and he's, just whipping these shenanigans left and right at all of the government agents.
See, I actually found myself liking that. And that's kind of a nod to Michael Bay, who's not a director I've ever given a shit for. Mm-hmm. But as I was watching this, because you're right, it's a full hour before they go into Alcatraz.
Yeah.
And it's like, that's 90 or...
it's like 80s, 90s.
Almost 90 minutes of movie at Alcatraz, and it's like that's an entire movie today.
Yeah, I mean, it's like Lethal Weapon. It's more about them building the cop-buddy relationship the vast majority of the movie, and then the stakes and the action happen right at the end.
Yeah.
And that's about like a half hour of it.
And his goons are just such douchebags.
Oh,
totally.
Yeah, you got John C. McGinley and David Morris, you said?
David Morris, yeah.
Yeah.
Which one is David Morris?
David Morris is the one who's like 6'5",
the blonde-haired fellow
and he's
who
got
plays
light
George
colored hair.
Washington and John Adams.
Oh, right. There's
He was also one of the officers in The Green Mile with Tom Hanks.
Yeah, and the other guy who is, I think, a captain. He's a Star Trek guy. He was in TNG.
And I spotted somebody from a former episode of ours. I texted you guys about this earlier when I was watching. I found Crunch from The Big Hit with Marky Mark, the serial masturbator. He's one of the crew, and you only see him for like a half a second.
Yes,
he's in the crew.
Yeah, I know. No, you're right. Yeah, I totally...
And I was like, oh my God, it's Crunch. And I wrote that down because I've never seen him in anything other than The Big Hit with Mark Wahlberg. So there you go.
Well, so...
Oh, Dr. Cox. What, he's a handsome fella.
Well, it's Stan.
Yeah,
I love
sure.
Stan. We should do that one day. We should do Stan Against Evil.
I've never seen it.
I could have
I've
one of
heard
the
great
stars
things.
call in if you'd like.
We got to do that. One of his
that's
fancy
right.
friends.
The cop, the
Dave
deputy
Mooney is the cop. Yeah.
Holy shit! Yeah.
Yeah, we could do that. He
Yeah,
could do
and,
it. I just saw him about 6 months ago.
Oh yeah, hell yeah.
Very cool.
He would love it.
Man, I would love it if
That was
they,
your
if
LA
that
trip,
showed.
wasn't it? Mm-hmm. Fancy.
April.
I wonder if he could get what's her name, Rebecca Varney. She plays the chief of police on Stand Against Evil.
Okay.
We'll
But
see.
let's see what happens. Yes, we digress. So we have our stakes. Nerve gas about to hit San Francisco if the government doesn't comply with a
$100 million.
whole bunch of money. Yeah. So it's up to Nick Cage, Sean Connery, and like 15 other guys to save the day. But surprise, surprise, there's Crunch. There he is.
Where?
Yeah, he was
just
right there.
Showed up on he's coming
That's it.
back.
That's all you
there
get.
he is on the right.
Yeah.
He's right there. That's all you
that's
get.
him. Okay.
But yeah, the 15 people that go in with Nick Cage and Sean Connery get immediately wiped out. Like they're in the tunnels. Like
And who is one of the Navy SEALs?
There were so many
The
people
lead
I
Navy SEAL.
recognized.
Yeah,
in
Michael
this-
Biehn.
Michael Biehn.
Yeah.
His time traveling days are over.
Oh yeah.
Well, because one of
He
the
was from
guys,
the Terminator.
one of the guys in the bad crew I recognized from Friends. He dated Phoebe for a minute, and he was in an Owen Wilson movie with Morgan Freeman about like.
Really? Wow.
How exciting! How exciting!
I'm struggling to remember the title, but I've seen him a couple of times throughout the years. He's always like a small character actor of sorts, but there were so many faces that I recognized in this project.
It's interesting. Ed Harris was very upset. Not upset. He was very annoyed by the way Michael Bay shot this movie.
Why?
Because he got so tired of everything being in such a close-up. Because he said, I'm acting with my entire body, but all you can see is like between my chin and the top of my forehead.
Well, sometimes you see his throat, which is why it should have been Mel Gibson playing that role, because he can act with his Adam's apple.
He can. No, he can. You're absolutely right.
You've seen it. But yeah, so, and there's a Sex and the City connection with one of the actors. Did you notice, Mr. Brown?
Was it the curly-haired fella? I don't know. Who was it?
So when they first bring Sean Connery out of his holding cell, whatever.
Is it the chief of staff? It's not the chief of staff.
No,
I
it's one of the
recognize him.
guys in the background when they're on the opposite side of the glass in the interrogation room, and the guy behind them he has like one quippy little line and says some smart ass thing, and then he's done. It's Stanford.
Oh,
from Sex and the City.
You've got to be kidding. We'll point him out when he comes across.
I will.
I'm going to see Stanford.
So many connections.
That's awesome. That's really.
Hey, Mr. Brown was part of Sex and the City.
That's crazy.
Adam browned him.
I do like that. There's one of the Marines has a man bun, and
yes,
that
and
that
like
actually
on top of his head. Too.
Yeah, and that annoyed me so much, and I don't know why that just like got on my nerves. But
I was about to say.
Well, the Marine general too, his hair was way out of spec. That annoyed me too.
Yeah.
A Marine would never ever.
Oh, none of them look like
wear
Marines.
his hair
Which
like
in
that.
a movie
Ever.
like Stripes, you let that go, but a movie like this, you expect more realism.
Well,
is that the problem?
And I actually thought about that, and I thought that it could be something like, okay, well, grow your hair so you look more like civilians. So when you go into hiding, you don't just stand out as a Marine with
as
the
a
high
buzz
and
cut.
tight.
Yeah.
No, I mean, I'm not going to give the movie. I enjoy the movie. I'm not giving it more credit than it's due. It's a dumb movie, but it's.
Yeah, it was that guy right there, the Marine Corps general. And I often wonder if, as an actor, it's like I can't get a high and tight. I have a commercial, lined up that I'm shooting, and,
Right.
And he doesn't want to lose that $30,000 or whatever.
Well, and that's actually a. What was the movie I saw? Oh God, it was a Rucker Hauer movie.
Oh, that movie.
Yeah, I think they did it on Riff Tracks. I've seen it before. It was one where like, was it Split Second? I think it doesn't matter. It was a movie about like some monster in London, and it was flooded because of global warming. But what's her name from Sex and the City?
Sarah Jessica Parker.
Nope.
Kim Cattrall.
Yes, Kim Cattrall was in it, and it's interesting because in the whole movie, like she looks a little off. Like she doesn't look bad, but she looks kind of weird until you realize the reason she looks like that is she had just finished filming Star Trek VI, where she played a Vulcan, so she still had the Vulcan haircut. So she filmed an entire movie with a Vulcan haircut, and it's like, oh, well, you know what?
If anyone can pull it off, yeah,
she did.
That's cool.
It's weird. Kim Cattrall's one of those people. It's like I know she's been in a million things. I can only think of a few though.
Mannequin.
Mannequin. Yeah, Mannequin's
was
the
like
one.
her big shot to fame, I think. Even though it's like I've never seen it, but I've heard horrible.
Oh my God.
Horrible
We're doing Mannequin. That's my next. That's my next pick.
Wow,
is
seriously?
Mannequin.
Okay.
You got to see Mannequin.
I'll say Mannequin for
The
you.
last
Sure.
time that I saw Mannequin, and this is very relevant to The Rock, starring Nicolas Cage and Sean
See, we
Connery.
can talk about this stupid ass movie.
The last time I saw it was at a party, and we all stayed up until sunrise, and there was like 5 people left at the end, and we were all just like wired, and it's sunrise, and your brain's not working, and the TV was on, and Mannequin came on, and we all sat
And just had to watch it.
just. No one said a word for like 90 minutes.
And it's just like you're at just the right brain level where nothing's really firing on all cylinders.
You've got
and you're
just enough neurological trauma.
yeah, you're at the right level for that. But I think we already passed it. But the first conversation that Ed Harris has when he demands the money, he threatens San Francisco, whoever it is he's threatening. I didn't make note of
When
that.
he FaceTimes them?
Yeah, before he does that, I think. But whoever it is says, it seems Alcatraz was just reopened. And that was just...
Dun, dun, dun.
Yeah, and I had to write underneath that this sends the investigation in a whole new direction.
Don't laugh. You don't know what we're talking about.
I'm just laughing.
He's just trying to be part of
It's
the
like
cool
a Bob's
kids.
Burger thing, of course.
No, Charles, it's not. And if you'd watch what we asked you to watch, you would know.
Mabel, please. He doesn't know the streaming service.
I taught him how to use Postmates the other day when he taught me to pick locks.
I got to get the Hulu first, and then I'll watch it.
God.
You got to get Hulu.
Yeah, it's actually there are a lot of
it's
good
actually
programs
good.
on there.
Sponsored by Hulu.
Go watch Only Murders in the Building. Okay.
Anyway,
oh God, this is the most awkward love scene in the history of them.
So anyway, check out citycenterplayers.com if you want to go. Like I said, seating is limited. We've already gotten, I think about half of the seats already gone. But We'll make room.
Yeah, we will.
If you want to come,
we're not going to turn you away at the door,
won't turn
guys.
you away.
No.
We're not the so cool that we would
Hindsight
turn
is
you away.
horrifying. Fans get head of the line privileges. That's
Yes,
what we do.
Yes,
Yeah.
if you
mention.
if you mention hindsight is horrifying.
Exactly. So Australia, we expect you to come.
Come on,
Yes.
hop on a
Japan,
Qantas, bring your kangaroo.
Paris, all of you guys, come on. So, return to the movie. Thank you for that awesome shout out, Jason. Yes, we're in the middle of the most awkward sex scene potentially ever. I'm trying to think of another one that's worse.
It's very awkward.
Because Nicolas Cage, like, no matter what he's doing, he just he's
look on
got
his
the
face.
same expression of just.
I've come around on Nicolas Cage. I used to not like him, and now I think he's a genius.
I don't mind him. Like I know his kind of the way he works in Hollywood is like he'll do a big blockbuster movie like this where he earns a huge paycheck and then he uses those funds to go and do some sort of project that he's passionate about, which is the way to do it.
Well, yeah, I mean, this was around the same time as Leaving Las Vegas.
Okay.
Which, Leaving Las Vegas, even back when I really didn't care for Nicolas Cage, that was one of the best fucking movies I've ever seen.
I've never seen that one.
It's heavy.
I
will
imagine.
I will tell you.
It's don't. It's not a feel good film. That's
No,
for sure.
no.
Oh my gosh.
It's got two of the best performances. I mean, Elizabeth Shue and Nicolas Cage do.
Yeah.
And
that's another movie she was in. Like,
Yeah.
I've seen more and more of her movies. Somehow, like, they keep popping up, and I'm like, oh, there she is, because I knew she was in stuff. But Elizabeth Shue, it's like she disappeared after The Saint.
yeah, she quit. She got out. Yeah, she got out. But no, so I think you're right. I think it's, and I need to see when Leaving Las Vegas came out. But it does. Yeah, he does a huge mega movie like this, gets paid a lot of money, and then he goes from The Rock to something like Leaving Las Vegas, where it's very small. It's a very intimate movie, and it's, I think he actually figured out the formula before anybody else did.
Yeah.
Interesting soundtrack to that movie done by Sting, and it's almost all acoustic, and I think almost all of it is either a cappella or just has a bass.
Sting, doesn't he poison your neighbor's dogs?
Shh.
Let's talk about that.
Don't worry about it. I know I'm not supposed to release that information. It's still in court. But anyway. So Nicolas Cage does, he has a pretty brilliant formula. The one movie that stands out to me, I'm having a hard time remembering it. It's got Sarah Jessica Parker. It's got James Caan.
Raising Arizona?
No. It's the Flying Elvis's Utah chapter. It's one of the many movies where he dresses up as Elvis. Because
Oh, God.
You'll think of it in a second
this is
for
gonna
me.
drive me nuts.
I'll look it up. But in that
I'll look
movie,
it
okay.
Or don't, actually. That's what
you'll
Honeymoon in
think of it.
Vegas.
Okay, but
Honeymoon in Vegas.
Yes, thank you. So I always think of that movie when I think of Nicolas Cage. That I just like that movie because it's silly enough that it fits his kind of doofy personality, and the circumstances kind of match him a little bit better.
The beginning, the first time you see Sean Connery, it looks like a really, really bad Counting Crows video is about to start.
Yes.
And by that I mean
Yes,
a
it
Counting Crows video.
Yeah.
Sorry, I don't care for the Counting Crows.
But when they cut his hair, they had a Ramius. His Ramius look came back. They got some more airtime from that $70,000.
They got a super femme stylist.
Yes.
he
I want to feel
clarifies.
the feel of a shoot.
I thought he
That's
was
really
gonna
not
say
the first
something
thing
else.
that I would think of. But that actually, the fact that, when they get Sean Connery out of prison, and the story there is that he was a British spy who was trying to get the blackmail information that J. Edgar Hoover had
microfilm.
on the British government.
Yeah.
And he didn't just get that, he got all of it. He got the aliens at Roswell, the Kennedy assassination, the whole 9 yards.
So he's Jackie Gleason.
Yeah, but he got arrested, disavowed by the British government, and he was
Like
sent,
they do.
Yeah, sent
Like
to
they do.
Alcatraz, escaped from Alcatraz, got out, and he was at which concert were they at when
A Led Zeppelin.
Led Zeppelin? Yeah, they were at a Led Zeppelin concert and he
Yes.
got arrested again. So he's been in prison for 30 years.
And he doesn't know what grunge is. So that's what that joke was earlier in the podcast where Nicolas Cage said, yeah, your hair is kind of long. It's really grunge. And he was like,
It's a
what?
good Nicolas Cage.
Yeah, he's thanks.
It's a very good Nicolas Cage.
Grunge.
He's
That's
interesting. Yeah, and so he was like, "Oh, you're like a guitarist from Seattle. Don't worry about it." Anyway, and they move on, but they just have a quick quippy thing about it. But then he looks like James Bond again.
Yeah, but they know that they need to get into Alcatraz, and because he's the only individual who's ever escaped,
That means he
from
can
Alcatraz,
break in.
they think, hey, well, and I do like the fact that that's kind of dumb because you escaped from a place 30 years ago.
There have been no updates, no
they
changes
specifically
in 30
say
years.
the place has changed 1,000 times. Which kind of means, well, what's the point of getting this guy out anyway? Because they say, well, the blueprints don't make any sense because it's been changed and modified.
All the guards are useless that we contacted, like nothing else is working.
But he's also a master of escaping. And I'm glad that they put that, because that makes it make a little more sense that it's not just that he knows Alcatraz. This guy can get out of anywhere.
Right.
Which we're about to see some of his impressive skills, and I had to make a note. So they've got him in an interrogation room, and you note that there's a quarter underneath Sean Connery's chair. He takes the chair and slams down on the quarter to sharpen it, uses the quarter to cut a circle, thief style, into the interrogation glass, and then busts through the glass to
say
what
hello.
Just to like flex.
For dramatic
Yeah,
effect.
he's just flexing on him.
Yeah.
And I guess he does discover that it's his old nemesis Womack, with whom he has quite a bit of history. The guy who put him away and has kept him underground for 3 decades.
Yeah.
Kept him from meeting his daughter, whose name is what, gentlemen?
I didn't catch it.
Hello, Jade. Jade.
Are you being serious?
Her name is Jade, you silly goose. But I think Womack must have a secret crush on him because that's why he hates him so much.
Yeah.
Well,
I think Womack came out
there's
like
a fine
he
line.
made a pass at him, and Sean
Between
Connery
love
said
and hate.
no, so straight to jail.
Well,
right.
Womack,
Never to come out
You
again.
can never come out again.
Womack hit on him at the Led Zeppelin concert, and Sean Connery turned him down because he's straight.
Yeah.
He impregnated Jade's mom.
Yeah.
And then
With his
Womack
mind.
arrested him.
Who is Womack's wife?
He just looked at her,
Well-
and she became pregnant.
Yeah. I mean, Sean
He's very
Connery apparently
fertile.
has that capability.
Yeah, he's Sean fucking Connery, man.
Yes.
In this scene, though, and I think this is one of the things that sort of adds to the is he James Bond thing, which, by the way, if anybody, I know it's not James Bond. It's just a fun thing to
Jeez,
talk
Jason.
about. He keeps saying he wants a suite, and I can't remember the name of the hotel. And I want to shower, I want
Hamilton?
to shave, and I want to feel a
The
suit.
feel of a suit.
And I thought, well, that's kind of a weird thing. Why would he say, unless he is James Bond?
Yeah.
Are the lapels impossible to pull off? Like, because wasn't that a story about his Dr. No suit that whoever tailored it made it incredibly sturdy, like made him sleep in it and everything to prove to him just how high quality the suit was. And it's like, so I guess if he was,
That's what I do with my underwear. Seriously.
knock that image right out of my head. Anyway,
Tidy whities.
lovely.
Stained in the back.
But in a weird way, despite the
No,
fact
they
that
got the hearts on them.
God. In a weird way, despite the fact that Nicolas Cage is incredibly crucial to this mission because he's the chemist who can deactivate the missiles carrying the nerve gas.
Okay.
You're not going to interrupt me, but you are.
Go ahead.
His whole thing, and this is to me the most glaring absurdity of the movie.
Tell us.
They send him there because he is a chemical weapons expert. He knows everything about chemicals, how chemicals work, how they kill you, etc. And so he goes in there and he thwarts the bad guys by taking the guidance chips out of the rocket, which doesn't have a lot to do with chemistry.
Oh, man.
Yeah, you
I
could
never
have
thought
sent
of
in.
that.
It's like anyone could have done this.
I guess they were worried that he's the only guy who could do it without busting the chemicals loose. I don't know.
He's just very
They should have got a
careful.
juggler.
Well, I mean,
Yeah.
they're packed into giant anal beads inside the missiles. Did
Benoit?
anybody? Balls.
There we go.
Your mother found a whole new way to use them, boy.
Just don't bust
Phuket.
them.
Did you watch Regis this morning?
I actually, we'll get to that later on though, but I actually like the old 90s production design of just like, make them look cool, like they wouldn't be.
And this is a pretty typical 90s thing. It's the "we're not so different, you and I" kind of speech where Sean Connery is trying to level with Nick Cage and get a beat on him, and Nick Cage is like, yeah, I guess I can get him a cup of coffee and take his handcuffs off.
Yeah.
He's trying to win some trust.
He's
from
trying to be
Sean
the big
Connery.
man.
Yeah, because what does his boss tell him? Womack, he says, "You're on a need to know basis, and you don't need to know."
God,
So
how many times has that line actually been used in real life? A billion.
probably by the douchiest guy in the entire
that,
office.
Yeah, that is a very douchey thing to say.
It is.
We do need to take a break, and when we get back, I want to talk about how douchey the quote unquote Marines are in this. We'll be back in about 1 second. And we're back.
Yes.
Hello.
So the henchmen. The henchmen in this movie, because there's a lot of henchmen. They are.
The main one's got a very Matt Dillon vibe.
Well, yeah, you're right. Yeah. The thing about them that sort of gets me is that Ed Harris has this pivot moment
Pivot.
where they try to redeem him slightly. They can't redeem him completely because he's killed too many people. One of his men died in the heist. He was killed by the nerve gas. Well, it was a heist.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They Shanghai all of
He killed
Alcatraz.
all of the Navy SEALs who went in there. He
And
didn't.
Not one Navy guy got killed by a Navy SEAL. Not one.
Not a single one.
They're like the stormtroopers of this story.
Yeah.
But he doesn't take responsibility for it either. Like, because
it's actually right here. There's a surprise firefight. A guy, knocks a brick out, and it scares people, and they start shooting. Because before this, there was this moment where Ed Harris and I almost said Sean Bean.
Nicolas Cage,
No, the Navy.
David Morris.
No, Bean. His name is Bean, but I can't remember his first name. We just said it.
Oh my God,
Matt Dillon. The Matt Dillon lookalike.
No.
I have no idea what's happening right now.
He was in Terminator. That guy.
It doesn't matter.
Go ahead.
They've got a standoff of sorts where.
Yeah. Anyway, they're talking, and he's like, "You should surrender. Don't get your men killed." And it's like he's kind of trying to not
order your
get
men
anybody...
to put their guns down. I can't give that order, and they repeat themselves.
Michael Bean, isn't it?
Michael Bean. That's
I think
right.
that's what you're
Yeah.
saying.
Thank you.
Michael Bean.
Jeez,
I don't know
senior
his name.
moment here, guys.
Yeah. But regardless, he's got too much blood on his hands.
Mm-hmm.
You've got all these Navy SEALs who've been killed. He was probably willing to execute that hostage. He didn't. But they try to bring it back where they don't want him to be just a complete bad guy. The goons, however, who were like supposedly Marines that he picked because they were really trustworthy and honorable and good people, are complete dipshits.
Oh yeah, yeah, they are.
Well, they're all traitors. They're hoping to be rebranded as patriots years from now. In
I
the
don't
history
know.
books,
They're
but-
not. No, Ed Harris was. Ed Harris wanted
sorry.
to. No,
Okay,
Ed
I thought you were
Harris.
talking about
They're
Ed Harris's
mercenaries.
guys.
Yeah, they're mercenaries. Ed Harris was, I'm doing something that's bad because I'm correcting a wrong. But then he decides, well, I can't kill 80,000 people. I can't do that. So he one of the missiles is fired, and Ed Harris hacks the missile somehow and types in the secret command to make
Call
it.
him Circuit Breaker.
Yeah, and Nicolas Cage somehow can look out the window and see that the missile miles away landed in the water. It's like they literally show it going over a mountain, but
Yes.
Nicolas Cage can still somehow see it.
Of course he
Anyway.
can. Because he's the weapons specialist.
He was going to be Superman, so maybe he
That's
had
true.
X-ray vision.
I actually
Excuse
saw.
me?
No, oh, you
Nick
didn't.
Cage was supposed to be Superman.
Oh yeah,
Do you tell this? If I don't know the story, neither do a lot of people. So
I'll leave it to.
Oh,
to
Tim
Jason, yeah.
Burton's Superman.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can actually look. In fact, I saw somebody posted it on either. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Somebody posted it on either Twitter or Instagram. There was actually costume test footage of him in the weird, and he had like long hair, long,
You got to
flowing
check it
hair.
out.
I don't know.
Yeah, it was Tim.
Stop.
It was very weird. Obviously, never happened. Much like the sequel to this movie never happened.
There's supposed to be a sequel to this movie.
They actually had what I thought sounded like a pretty interesting sequel.
Do tell.
Well, the movie ends with, surprise,
Spoilers.
surprise, Sean Connery lives and Nicolas
Vaporized.
Cage lives.
Yeah.
Sean Connery is, Nicolas Cage sort of helps him, fake his death so that the heat will be off and he can presumably go and live his life. But he leaves Nicolas Cage directions to go and find the microfilm
Yes.
that has all of the secrets.
Okay.
JFK and aliens and all the British stuff and all that. And at the end of the movie, Nicolas Cage gets that microfilm. In fact, the last line of the movie is, "Honey, do you want to know who really killed JFK?"
Yeah.
The sequel idea was that the government realized that Nicolas Cage had the microfilm and they were hunting him and his wife and I guess kid down.
Oh yeah, because we got to talk about that.
John Connor.
And the only person that he could trust was James Mason.
Oh.
So the sequel,
So
the sequel was going to be him going to Sean Connery saying, "I need you to help." He would have to find Sean Connery.
Right.
son of a bitch.
Yeah.
I'm in. It was going to
which,
be that kind of a sequel.
I
would've been an interesting movie.
kind of like this.
I would tune in for that.
I
You're
would
right.
watch it.
But so
too
we
late
have to
now,
circle
though.
back before we
Yeah,
get too
it
far
is.
away from his. So Nick Cage's relationship with Carla. So she comes in, announces that she's pregnant. He's not thrilled. Makes that pretty damn obvious to her.
Yeah.
Even says something
Seconds ago, what did he say about raising?
that it's cruel to bring a child into the world because it's being FedExed to hell. Because I mean, give him a break. He did just almost get melted at work that day because some terrorists tried to kill him. So okay,
Technically, they were trying to kill Serbian refugees.
Yes.
but he had to deactivate the doll that their nerve gas was
the prop
hiding
doll,
in.
which it was a prop doll, and actually Nicolas Cage didn't want to handle the doll
Why?
because apparently he actually thought it was really well made, and he said if I do this, I'm going to break the thing. So I believe it was the guy who made the doll is actually the guy in the suit.
A hand
You
model.
want me to inject this into my heart? Are you effing crazy?
So it's not Nicolas Cage playing Nicolas Cage's character.
It's Geppetto.
Yeah, it's the
So
production
Tom Hanks.
designer. Yeah.
Cool. I did not know that. But yeah, so he did just have a rough day. He's playing guitar and having some wine.
With no
Carla.
clothes on. He's naked.
Oh, is he naked? I thought he was just shirtless. But
Oh, no. He had no pants on.
Hey, if
either.
you've
I
never
noticed.
if you've never just walked around your house buck ass naked when you've had a bad day, you really ought to give it a try.
Yeah. It is, it
Is
is
that a
liberating.
mic?
It's very nice.
Yeah.
Cook dinner for yourself naked.
no bacon.
I've done it.
Exactly.
no
Yeah.
splattering.
I saw that on a TV show once, and I thought that looks like okay. I'll give it a try.
They even do a part of an episode of Friends about it. Rachel walks around naked because she never has in her apartment. And it's just liberating, like you
Yeah,
said.
it's relaxing.
Okay, well, I can. Nicolas Cage playing naked guitar. That's cool. Matthew McConaughey plays naked bongos, so they should start a naked band together. But Carla,
No, they shouldn't. No, I'm going to veto that one.
But Carla comes in, says she has an interesting day, announces that she's pregnant, and Nicolas Cage is taken aback, and he's not thrilled. And he goes, "But we're not even married." And she goes, "Yeah, you're right." And she gets down on one knee and proposes to him on the spot, which, no, that's not how you do that.
Well, that whole thing was in there basically. Yeah, it makes sense.
to give him
It's
personal
stakes.
stakes.
Yeah, he's got stakes now.
Because then Carla, for whatever reason, he is called to San Francisco by the FBI. It's not like he's blowing her off. He literally must go. He's being summoned by the government to San Francisco.
I know, what
And she's like, "No, you're not leaving me behind.
What
I'm
a
going with you."
commentary on marriage right there. Yes, the FBI, whom I work for,
I wanna
needs
talk
me
to
to
them.
go. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, put them on the phone.
Put them on speaker, Michael.
My SMU is not going to San Francisco.
Not with me in this state.
My sweet little boy.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
So she's going to San Francisco as well. He's kind of like, "Yeah, okay, you should come with me." And he's like, "I do love you. I am going to marry you." And she's all happy and great. So yeah, now there are stakes. And he tries to call her when they've gotten Sean Connery fresh out of jail, pre-haircut. And he's like, "Carla, don't come to San Francisco. Whatever you do, don't come here." And Sean Connery's like, "Who's Carla?" And why shouldn't she come to San Francisco? And so he's trying to protect his woman and his unborn
Yeah,
child.
but she still just shows up.
She does, even though she literally just hangs up on him. She's like, "No, I'm coming there," and just hangs up. And I'm like,
It doesn't matter what the man says.
No, it doesn't. And also, I love the fact that she's just going to San Francisco.
Yeah,
like there's
where?
a big sign that says Nicolas Cage this way.
I mean, knowing Nicolas Cage.
Where did it start anyway? Where were they?
You know,
They were in D.C.?
I assume it was DC.
So she flew from D.C. to the San Francisco.
Yeah.
The
SFO, baby.
San Francisco.
God,
No,
that
you're not
man
San
bun
Fran.
that man bun just drives me fucking. I don't know why it bugs me.
It's pretty
I
bad.
think man buns just bug me in
Well,
general.
they
We
bug me
also-
a lot too, because I don't know, women love them for some reason. It's
No,
really frustrating.
Not all women.
Not all women,
No.
no.
Ugh.
Yeah.
I've never dated a man who's done his hair like that. Like, I'm not into long hair on men personally anyway, but
If you have a man bun, you would better be like a fucking a Brazilian jiu-jitsu
better
expert.
be.
I mean, seriously, like if you are like just some badass dude who could just take anyone down, fine.
Put on
fine.
man
the
bun,
If you
dude,
sleep
that's
4
fine.
hours a night and regulate your heart, you must be
Yeah,
gyro.
yeah.
Capoeira. But, yeah, the man bun is pretty effing ridiculous. I agree with you on that. And we passed something pretty ridiculous as well. So I know we've built Sean Connery up to sort of legendary status in this movie. He can escape from anywhere, but somehow he can also suspend you in the air with a shoestring and not dislocate his arm.
It's not even a shoestring. It's the it's the clothesline.
Yeah, it's even more.
It's the hotel. Which why don't houses have those? I've always
They
thought
do.
about
They do in Europe. They're very popular in the UK. They're everywhere in the UK.
Probably some sort of safety worry.
we got to
for
get
those.
behind that. To me, that just makes sense.
Oh yeah.
You know.
Well, instead of having to like buy a hanger for the door for the towel and like clothes that you
No,
want to hang
you
up,
put
or
your clothes in
Put your
there.
clothes up there.
See, we use dryers here. They don't use dryers in Europe because it uses too much energy.
oh, okay. Well,
Well, and their apartments are so small.
Yeah.
They can't. You know. It's like it's either that or a kid.
Yeah, but I don't think he did not. He did not.
dryer every time, people.
One or
I'm
the
telling
other.
you.
Choose the dryer. It's
I
a
did.
convenience.
I did choose the
but
dryer.
he tied it off to the chair, so it wasn't him holding.
No,
I
it
don't
was
think.
initially because
It was?
He eventually tied it.
So
Oh,
he has it
jeez.
around his wrist, and so he throws Womack. He ties the shoestring or clothesline, whatever, around Womack because he gets the feeling, and Nicolas Cage is upset. He's like, "I gave this guy my word. You're just going to crumple this federal document promising him that he'll be a free man after he cooperates with us. He signed, and he's going to do it." And Sean Connery obviously tries to get away and stuff, but
Because he
Womack
totally
is.
fucking knew that they were.
Womack, yeah,
there was
he knew
no
that
way
Womack's
that was
a bastard and is not going to make good on his deal. So he's like, "All right, Womack, shake on it," and grabs him, ties him off at the wrist, and throws him off the roof of the
Yeah.
hotel. And is just hanging on to him with his other arm.
Which you got to admit would be awesome to do to somebody you didn't like.
But
Yes.
Dangling them off a cliff. I mean, there's
It would hurt though.
there's a lot of person.
yeah,
Yeah,
well,
there's
yeah,
so much pain involved. But then he does tie it off to the chair to distract the other officers and force them to help Womack.
right,
and therefore, Nicolas Cage is the only one who chases him. And they wind up in a Steve McQueen level car chase for like 15 minutes.
well, yeah, it's a Humvee versus
Ferrari.
a Ferrari, and they actually got into the studio gave them a lot of shit because that was apparently sort of added after the fact. They said, well, we need something in there for action for the younger audience,
Okay.
and apparently it went way over budget, and
Well, of
the
course.
studio execs showed up apparently at Alcatraz, and it was like, Michael Bay, we need to have a meeting. Disney executives are here,
Oh, geez.
and so Michael Bay was like,
Disney
yeah,
except.
well, they were.
What?
It was Touchstone.
Oh,
Yeah,
I didn't
no,
notice
yeah,
that.
yeah,
Okay, I
yeah.
was like Disney.
Films.
All right.
So
Got it.
Michael Bay is literally walking, and he's having a bit of a bad day because I don't know. Don Simpson died during the production
Oh,
of this,
yeah.
and they were already Jerry Bruckheimer was going to sever the ties with Don Simpson anyway because of all the drugs. So there was a lot of
Did
stuff.
he die of an overdose?
He died of a drug-related heart attack.
Okay, so
So
more or less.
whatever you want to say, but
Yeah.
so they're, the creatives are headed to this meeting where they're going to get reamed by the Disney people.
Mm-hmm.
And Sean Connery happened to be on set and said, "I'd like to go to this meeting."
Oh my.
And so they walk in, and in walks Sean Connery. And Sean Connery was very firmly in the camp of Simpson and Bruckheimer and Bay.
What's this about my car chase?
Yeah, and surprisingly, the Disney executives folded like a cheap suit.
Imagine. Yeah, you don't argue with James Bond. You just don't.
No, I mean, Sean Connery walks in the room. It's holy shit.
He's the kind of man who, like, you know, in the 90s could walk into a room, choose a woman, you know, like, have a steak and a woman delivered to my hotel
and a
room.
bottle of scotch.
Nobody's even going to get upset about it or argue. He was that kind of a man.
Oh, yeah. I mean, he was one of the last of the man's man.
Mm-hmm. I can agree with that. Now, something we sort of talked about off camera a little, James Bond, as awesome as he is, I never, unlike so many ladies, had a crush on Sean Connery, no matter what. He was not my cup of tea, nor any of the other James Bonds. I like the movies. I love the stories, but not so much.
Even Daniel Craig?
Daniel Craig's a good-looking guy, but
he's rugged.
He is. He's an anomaly.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Although it's like looking at a drawer of parts that don't belong together and then putting them together, and it comes out wonderful.
Yeah.
You know?
I mean, he caught Rachel Weisz's attention.
Oh, yeah.
That's really all that matters at the end of the day. But yeah, so they have a 15-minute car chase. Streetcar.
Way too long, yeah.
Yeah, streetcar named on fire. One guy, and I love that story where.
Oh my God, that's the most Michael Bay thing in the history of the world.
Yeah, the streetcar conductor is just so happy being the streetcar conductor. That streetcar is his baby. And when he
crashes, says that, he even says my baby.
He's like, my baby. Because Sean Connery crashes the Humvee into it, it rolls. All of his passengers have to jump off in a panic. It's a huge crash, fiery explosion.
It slides into a car, explodes, and then flies perfectly straight up in the air. Yeah.
And right back down. But so at the end, the poor conductor is just like, my baby. Oh, where is that mother effer? He ain't safe nowhere. And it's just like, that's all you ever see of him. You just know that he was truly dedicated
for the
to
rest
that
of his
street.
life.
Yeah, that's it.
That would have been good for the sequel. He finds him.
Yeah,
he and the shoe shiners from Nick of Time need to go into business together.
No, in the sequel, he would be like driving like a tour boat. At Niagara Falls.
Oh my God.
And they would somehow blow up the tour boat. Sean Connery would get on the boat. You motherfucker.
But yeah, and you're right. It is such a Michael Bay thing to have this
so
super tiny, minute mini story packed inside all of that nonsense. And then, you know, we're an hour in and then we go to Alcatraz, like we said. So
and it is Michael Bay because it's like you get Simpson and Bruckheimer and then Michael Bay, and you put those three together and you get this. If you take Michael Bay out, you get Top Gun. You know?
Yeah. Michael Bay, there's like misplaced character development. And I remember that, oddly enough, from Pearl Harbor, which everybody was expecting such amazing things from. And the character development, and I'm not saying it's a bad thing, but he'll throw it in where it's not exactly necessary. Like they focused on a character who had a really bad stutter in that movie, and it was character development, but it didn't move the plot along or help the story in any way whatsoever.
Well, the Michael Bay movies, it's weird because when you look at the scripts, there's a lot of writers. You know, there's a lot of people working on these scripts. Yeah. And in this movie in particular, it wasn't just like the team. When Sean Connery was attached, he hired 2 other screenwriters to redo his lines.
Connery did?
Yeah.
When, you know, the man's man could do that.
Because he was one of the producers too. So he put up money.
That's right. That's right.
Gotcha.
But no, his lines specifically were redone. Just his, by a whole other pair of screenwriters. And I guess it worked, you know.
But then they get into the coal car in the mine.
I know.
I didn't know there was a mine under
the Indiana Jones, Temple of Doom.
Seriously, it is so Temple of Doom. And meanwhile, Sean Connery's like, what did it use? He said it was a mine, or what was it before during the Civil War?
Fort.
It was a fort. Yeah. That's right. But apparently,
it was a Native American place. It was like a Native American. It wasn't a village, but it was sacred.
It has served quite a few purposes over the years.
In this scene in particular with the mine cart, there's a part that they cut out that they cut out because they felt that it wasn't really fitting with the character. But I
Okay.
think it would have made more sense because
What's that?
Because what's his name? The guy who gets killed here.
John C. McGinley.
Yeah, McGinley.
He gets set on fire and dropped into the water. Yeah.
They actually filmed a moment where Sean Connery stabs McGinley's hand and into the mine cart and
but they
explains
didn't
why
wanna-
he doesn't get out of the mine cart because he's literally stuck there.
Gotcha.
And so
Yeah, I
without-
was wondering about that. I was like,
Why
did
didn't he just
die
get
'cause
out?
He just fell.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. That actually does piece some things together for me. Thank you.
And this whole scene feels like something from Aliens. It's
A little,
yeah. It's
especially with those plants in the foreground.
Yeah, and-
yeah.
And they were at full tilt in that cold car, and the guys walked slowly that distance in just a minute, about the same amount of time. Oh yeah,
In 15 minutes, we're on the borders of Switzerland.
Well,
This is
it-
from Poland, right? It's a
sort of-
long way away.
It's sort of like, and this is the thing that I think Michael Bay said. Yeah, it doesn't make any sense, and he freely admits it doesn't make any sense.
suspend your disbelief.
Yeah,
Just do it.
it's
Once again,
entertaining.
it's a Nick Cage action movie.
When they first break into Alcatraz and they get into this room and they're like, "You let us, Sean Connery, you let us into this room without an exit, you motherfucker," and Sean Connery's like, "Oh no, I'm gonna go through here and open the door, and here is a working furnace with cogs that are turning."
Yes,
Like you do.
you want oil and fire.
Yeah,
near one another.
it
That's
makes
always-
it makes perfect sense. You know,
Absolutely.
and Michael Bay, I think, I don't know if it was an interview or whatever, but he's like, yeah, why would that be even on? It's been 30 years since he's been down there, and the
I
fucking
know.
furnace is working.
Somehow.
But it's entertaining.
Yes, of course.
And I'll be honest, relative to movies that come out today that are action oriented, I'll take this.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. So
It's a goofy, fun movie.
It is. So it's a 2 hour, 15-minute movie.
It's a long movie.
Yeah, and I was not anticipating that, so I didn't get to see every part of this, but I do love
Did
that.
you not watch the ending?
No, I did not. So I was going to ask you guys to fill me in and any of the hindsighters who are ready for spoilers. So what I know, I got to the part where Nicolas Cage is deactivating all the missiles and pulling out the anal beads, and then one of them detaches, falls, doesn't break, rolls, and it's going to fall and shatter, but he saves
grabs
it at
it.
the
Yeah.
last second, and then somebody curses at him and starts shooting at him, and that's where I dropped anchor because I had to come and meet you guys.
So you saw, of course, the pivot where Ed Harris says, "No, I'm not doing this. It's over with."
No, I had-
Connery saw it in his eyes.
I had to jump
remember?
forward a little bit, so I may have missed it. I don't remember that part.
Yeah, Ed Harris basically, Sean Connery, confronts him and is
Oh,
like,
he
like,
did say,
yeah,
I don't know why the solution to losing all of these men of yours is to kill 80 million
Yeah.
more people.
Right, yeah.
I think you're a fucking idiot.
Yeah.
Yeah, so,
It's like,
okay.
yeah, it's like,
I do
no.
remember that.
Yeah, you're not acting like a soldier. That works on him, and then he's so Ed Harris decides, no, I'm pulling the plug on this. It's over. We tried. We failed. Let's get out of here. His men, having been promised $1 million, decide, no, we're going to go ahead and continue. Firefight ensues. Ed Harris is killed
Oh,
by his own men.
by his own men.
damn.
But then
Barb would have been so disappointed
Oh yeah,
because we didn't mention that. His wife has passed away. Her
Right,
name is
yes.
Barbara, and he has a couple of lines. It's a little speech where he's like, yeah, I've got to do something that I couldn't do when you were still here. Hopefully it'll
because you would have
elevate.
slapped me silly. If I
now,
did.
now that he's
Hopefully-
single, he can do all this.
Hopefully
He can do
it'll
whatever he
elevate
wants.
their thinking. Please don't think less of me. And it's that pouring in the rain, visiting your dead
It's
spouse
so
scene.
Michael Bay.
It's so Michael Bay.
putting the Marine Corps uniform on, and the medals are jangling. And
Yeah.
he put the hat on. and-
It's painful.
Cover,
but
sorry.
but does that ever come full circle? Like his
wife? No.
Yeah.
No,
What's the freaking
That's
point
strong.
of that?
no, that was just trying to establish him as he's a decent person who's decided to do something bad.
Rogue.
Yeah, and he's literally behaving crazy. And
Okay.
then he, I agree. It probably
Well, 'cause
it
there
could
were-
have made sense if it would have been
Because there were a couple of setups with no payoff. So the Barb, the wife, was one of them, and then the Beatles, like the LP, because Nick Cage is a self-professed Beatle maniac. That's not true. He's obsessed with Elvis. But in the movie, he loves the Beatles. And did that ever come full circle? What was the whole point of that?
Well, that's
like,
why he
I
was
paid
playing
$600 for an
guitar
LP.
naked. That justified
Yes,
him
but all
playing
in the
guitar.
first part of the movie. Did anything circle
No,
back?
that was
toward
just adding a little character.
once
to
again
him.
character development
Yeah.
for no reason.
Yeah,
Like,
it was.
okay.
Well, it was giving him.
Sometimes I just want to sit down.
Yeah.
No, that's a motive. Well, what was your motivation? I just wanted to sit down. That's a motivation to that move. I just was
You've
tired.
been on your feet for 12 hours. Yeah. Boy, howdy.
So after Ed Harris is killed, then he's got Nicolas Cage and Sean Connery have to deal with the baddies,
Right, very bad people.
Are we the baddies?
and he kills one of them. See, Nicolas Cage kills one by shooting the missile while the guy is standing in front of the missile.
Yeah, very slim pickings.
Yeah. Which, lesson, don't stand in front of a missile.
Never.
You're the rocket man.
There's, yeah, yeah.
Because I thought that was where the Beatles payoff was going to come in. Because Nicolas Cage starts talking to the guy who said earlier that he wouldn't mind gutting him, or I'd take pleasure in gutting you. And Nicolas Cage kind of turns that over in his head, and they have their revenge moment, and Nicolas Cage is like, do you like music? And of course you gotta have a random conversation.
Wow.
And wow, that's disarming. And so the bad guy who's like, do you know how this works? And he's brandishing his knife. Do you know how this shit works? And Nicolas Cage is like, do you like music? What about the Rocket Man? And
I don't like that soft shit.
and so he launches the rocket into the guy, who then gets impaled through the middle by a pole.
Let's be clear about that.
The rocket doesn't
being
kill
hit
him.
by the rocket does not kill him.
No, it just kind of knocks
It
him
just
off
knocks him out
balance.
the window. Yeah.
And
and
sets him up
the-
to be impaled.
Yeah, and this being a Michael Bay movie, the glass is all made of the thinnest possible. No one in Michael Bay universes pays any good money for their windows.
No
You
sugar
can just walk
glass,
up and
no nothing.
just tap them and they shatter.
No insulation, nothing.
So
So that guy,
and then he's impaled.
And then Nicolas Cage is like, "Huh, you like how that shit works?" And just okay. But I thought that's where the Beatles were going to make their circle back, because he starts talking about music. No
No.
payoff for that.
But then he does have the Benoit in his pocket. He keeps it in his pockets. And then, I don't know if you
can't look
saw
at you
the movie Live and Let Die at the very end. He takes that pneumatic round and puts it in his mouth and steps on him, and the guy inflates. And
Yaphet Kotto.
Yaphet Kotto,
Yaphet Kotto.
Kananga
Yeah.
was his name.
Oh man, that was buried in the recesses of my brain.
In a similar vein, Nicolas Cage takes the what kind of gas is it? It's
VX.
some kind of weird.
Yeah.
Yeah,
he
it's some
sticks it in the
supervillain
guy's
gas.
mouth and then crunches it,
Oh man.
and it's like.
I'm going to make a suggestion. If there's anybody out there who's in the business of designing like really bad chemical weapons,
Yeah, watch this movie.
the thing you put them in should be like made of metal.
Yeah,
Especially if they're what you call corrosive.
Yeah, like or like if it's glass, like that real strong glass they use in like presidential limousines, like that kind of glass.
Not the kind that Sean Connery can cut with a coin.
Yeah,
that's right.
Yeah, don't get like something from Party City and put your VX nerve gas in it. Don't do that.
and then of course Nick Cage has to
Oh yeah,
take the atropine, put it into his heart, and then
Again?
the fucking needle on it. It's like
he puts it into his heart
Again.
because he didn't
Again.
have to do it.
No, he didn't do it in the first
I
one.
thought he was supposed to do it in the gas chamber, and
But he didn't
blew it
do it.
off.
He didn't have
He
to,
did not
yeah.
do it.
My bad.
This time he had to do it.
But he's fine.
Yeah, he was fine. But then after having atropine in his heart, he got the green flares, because if you saw green smoke, you don't blow up Alcatraz. So he had a platoon moment where he was standing
It was an absolute platoon moment.
like what is the actor's name who played he's getting shot at the platoon.
Oh god.
It'll come to me later. But he has the platoon moment where he's holding it, and they peel off the F-18s.
But one of them
goes,
dropped.
thankfully, so that John Mason gets vaporized.
and they spent 40 hours.
no, John. Oh, he does
Shrunk-
get vaporized.
No, he doesn't. But they fake it.
They fake
Oh,
it
okay.
so that he can get away.
I was
Yeah.
about to say, wait.
No, because Nicolas Cage at the end, he communicates with the FBI, and he's like, it's all good, everything's fine. We destroyed the Remind me, I got a great Willem Dafoe thing to tell you.
Awesome.
Somebody did I'll just tell you now. Somebody did
Yeah.
a deep fake where they did Pretty Woman starring Willem Dafoe, and it's the most disturbing thing you've ever seen in your fucking life.
Because he and Julia Roberts have really big smiles, so I can see
Yikes.
that. Please tell
It's
me
fucking creepy.
He is Julia Roberts, right?
Yeah,
I'm
well,
assuming.
yeah. They just deep faked. They put
That's
Willem
excellent.
Dafoe's face on Julia Roberts' face.
I can't wait to watch that.
And that's pretty much it. And then, well, of course, the finale.
Oh yeah.
So does Sean Connery get a relationship with his daughter? Because when he's causing all the shenanigans and running away from the FBI agents and the big car chase and the Humvee, his goal is to reach his daughter. He calls information to get her address, and she has
411 we called it back
she has
then.
the fakest name that's ever happened, Jade Angelou.
Jade. Who would name their kid?
It's a weird choice.
Some weird
Darn.
ass. I don't know. Could have been Tandy, so this is better. But no, her name is Jade Angelou, and luckily she lives in San Francisco.
Yeah.
And Sean Connery looks her up. So does he get any relationship with her since he had to fake his death?
It's implied that because Nicolas Cage is on the radio and they're like, okay, good, everything's fine. What about Mason? Mason's dead.
Yeah.
And Sean Connery's like, thank you, because now the heat's
He's
going to
free.
go off.
Yeah.
And it's implied that he's going to go and
Nick Cage
reconnect with his daughter.
He helps him out multiple times in that, to that extent, because when they first run into each other, Nick Cage is waiting for backup to come and arrest Sean Connery, and instead of going in there, sirens wailing and cuffing him violently, he's just like, "Oh, don't worry, ma'am. Your dad is actually helping us with this dangerous mission." I guess she didn't stick around.
Please ignore the men with the guns pointing, because there's literally in the background there's guys pointing guns
They
at
cuff him
them.
5 seconds after that, so I guess she sprinted away and didn't see that. I don't know.
And then Nicolas Cage goes and he finds the parcel where Mason, Sean Connery, had hidden all of the secrets, all of it. Everything is on this thing.
God.
Aliens, JFK. I want to know what filing cabinet that was in. Like at the FBI. It was like the really, really special filing cabinet.
And what's this random dog at the end of the movie?
I was going to ask if I missed something.
No, there was no dog.
Okay,
suddenly
thank you.
there's a bulldog in this VW Beetle that they're tooling around in after they're married.
I totally thought I had forgotten that there was a dog at some point in the movie.
No.
Or someone had mentioned a dog or anything. And
he's got the microfilm. Now it goes to National Treasure, right?
Yeah. Which wasn't Ed Harris in that
really
too?
dumb
I think
movie.
so.
I think Ed Harris was the bad guy in that too.
And we've come full circle. So
Roll credits.
Hindsighters, this pick was a little bit different because it was actually Adam's turn to pick the movie, but he forfeited his pick to Jason this week.
Well, and
Glad he did.
I wimped out because I was going to make you guys watch Sorcerer.
But apparently it's too good.
Well, no, I still want to do it, but I just felt like, and it's funny because I ended up enjoying this. Sorcerer, that is my next pick, is Sorcerer, and then after that will be Mannequin, because no, we're doing Mannequin, not Mannequin 2.
My pick that's coming up that I sent you, the one with Sam Rockwell. I won't announce what it is right now. If we do that movie, I'll have a costume involved for that one.
Nice.
Alf to Seinfeld.
Yeah, it's a straight 5 for me because I just saw the movie today and didn't even get to see all of it. So I liked what I saw. And, Nick Cage, especially in retrospect, hindsight is horrifying. Like, it's a Nick Cage movie from the 90s. I wasn't surprised by anything.
Well, this is, I think, a perfect Alf to Seinfeld movie for me because it's going to be like an 8.
Seriously?
Yeah, because I haven't seen the movie in years, and it was, it was a dumb Nicolas Cage movie, and yeah, it had Sean Connery in it, but, it was some dumb Michael Bay action, garbagey, stupid thing.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know, maybe it's just movies are so bad nowadays. I watched this going, I really wish they would make a movie like this today. I would pay and I would go sit in the theater.
And who would you cast in it? Don't say Chris Pratt.
Oh, I was just
Do
thinking
not
of Chris
say
Pratt.
Chris
Yeah,
Pratt.
we need to have a no
That's
Chris
the
Pratt
option
rule.
every time.
I'd cast him in anything.
That's the rule in Hollywood. He does get cast in everything.
All right, Steve Martin and
Charles and Oliver break into Alcatraz. And Mabel's there for some reason.
Okay, I'm not going to say Joel McHale either because that's the other
I
one.
would watch that though. Okay, you don't
Joel
use his name a lot, so that
Really?
I'd say
Okay.
that's okay. Not for the recast game,
Yeah.
you don't.
And actually,
Joel McHale is who, the chemist?
yeah, and
and
McGinley as the
McGinley.
John C. McGinley.
John C. McGinley
Oh,
as the Sean Connery character.
20 years later.
awesome.
40
Yeah.
or 30 years later.
Because
So do
again,
it.
to me, he's Stan. And
yeah.
Stan is like this, grizzled older guy who fights monsters and stuff. So yeah, McGinley as
I could so see Joel McHale in Nick Cage's position where he's like, "Oh, you're pregnant? Peace." Like,
Peace out.
Yeah, I could see that. Okay,
I'm gonna walk away now.
and just for fun, make it Allison Brie.
Yeah, Alison Brie, just why not?
Absolutely.
So that's my recast. 8,
Okay.
and then that's my recast.
8 in a recast.
I'm
okay.
out.
5 and oh my gosh, who would I put in? Because Nicolas Cage is kind of a
It's
special kind of eccentric, so he's difficult to replace.
Adam Scott. Adam Scott. I think if this was made today, they would put Adam Scott in it.
Why?
I don't know. It's not the quirky part. I just think he's sort of.
I could see
fits
Adam
that.
Scott as more of the Womack character because for some reason they like
yeah.
to kind of cast him as the douchey villainous type, and he's decent at playing that. I could see him as Womack.
Who's the guy from Brooklyn Nine-Nine? Andy Samberg.
Andy Samberg.
Yeah, he could.
As the chemist?
Yeah, there's lots of people for the chemist. It's harder to think of who's going to play Sean Connery's character.
That's true. Who's like iconic and still around? Because Burt Reynolds could have done a good job if he was still around.
Oh yeah, that would have been
That would've been
awesome.
cool.
Holy shit! Yeah.
I'd have watched the hell out of that. So Burt Reynolds, because there's no, I guess we didn't put a time constraint on it. So Burt Reynolds as Sean Connery for me, and then Jeff Goldblum as the chemist.
Oh God, if we're
Younger Jeff Goldblum.
if we're going where we don't have to worry about like time, then Charlton Heston. Charlton Heston.
James Mason, who is God.
Charlton Heston actually would have been really awesome in the Sean Connery. Role.
Charlton, he would have done well as Ed Harris.
Yeah.
He can play the badass authoritative guy too. So
who has a he's got a real deep-seated actual motivation and it comes around in the end.
yeah,
I could see
exactly.
that.
Yeah, I think that would have been good. So
What about Alec Guinness?
Yeah.
Ooh, Sir Alec Guinness.
Yeah. Peter O'Toole.
Ah, yes, Peter O'Toole.
I mean, you could keep going.
Yeah.
Robert Shaw.
Richard Harris.
Yeah, Richard Harris.
He would work. Any of the drunks from the 60s.
I'm trying to think of somebody. I'm trying to think of someone who isn't dead that I would cast in this movie.
Yeah, Peter Sellers.
Yeah, Peter Sellers.
Why not?
Peter Sellers would have been great as a Nicolas Cage
That's
character.
what I was thinking.
Yeah,
I said,
yeah,
that would have been
Peter
awesome.
Sellers. He
these
would have
days,
been-
Hollywood would have totally like put Tom Holland in Nick Cage's place and then done somebody maybe 10 years older. Like they're doing that a lot lately where it's like Tom Holland and Marky Mark. And I don't know.
Yeah, Mark Wahlberg. Yeah, Mark Wahlberg would have been a good as the general, maybe. I don't know.
He would have been one of the he could be John C. McGinley's
Jack
character.
Black and The Rock. That's all.
Kevin
that's
Hart
it. We
and
don't.
The Rock.
Yeah, we have
Yeah.
no other choices.
Yeah, that's pretty much what we're stuck with these days.
Adam
so.
Sandler.
Oh Lord. I'm trying to think of a guy instead of Jeff Goldblum for the chemist. So who would be? What's your score, Mr. Brown? And I'll think of my recast.
You think, because I won't be able to come up with actors, but I have a confession to make. This is the first time that I saw this film.
Are you serious?
I was in transition.
I feel better now.
I was in transition to New York City, and which is my excuse. Because back in the day when you missed a movie in the theaters, it was hard to see it again unless
Yeah.
you found it in Blockbuster.
Yeah, that's true.
So
Blockbuster,
I was
for
moving
those
to
of
New
you who
York
don't
City
know.
to hopefully become a feature, an actor in feature films like this. But as you can see, I attained much greater success. I'm working with you
Yes.
too.
Clearly.
Well, you get a steady paycheck, so that's nice.
That's what drove me in that direction. So when I watched it yesterday, I would have given it a 5, but then watching it today, I'm giving it an 8 because, as I said, I always enjoy the deep analysis that we make with films. It makes them far more entertaining
Yes, it does.
when I hang with you guys. So I'm giving it an 8 too.
Okay.
I'm going to piggyback off of Jason's
And
score.
if anyone in the audience knows how to do math or owns a calculator, average those
Yes.
and put it in the comments.
Thank
Get it in
you.
your iPhone.
Just ask Siri.
Yeah. Okay. Well, to sort of steal from you, Jason, I would go with Burt Reynolds steal for the Sean Connery role, and I would actually make Adam Scott the chemist, like you said.
Okay.
So I think that would be a nice, chemistry sort of.
How about Denzel?
Denzel can do anything.
Yeah.
Like
Because he's the right age now for the Sean Connery role.
Yeah, he is.
Yeah, he's the right age. Because
Man on Fire, he was tough.
Yeah.
If you remember that movie, you ever see Man on Fire?
I don't think I saw Man on Fire. No.
It's tough.
Denzel's awesome.
Ooh, if
and
we
he could totally carry it.
If we could get him back out of the woodwork, Josh Hartnett as the chemist, Burt Reynolds as Sean Connery.
Okay. All right.
Now, when I went to IMDb as a quick sidebar, you see what Nicolas Cage is playing now?
No.
In a movie called Renfield.
Oh, geez. No, I don't.
He's playing Count Dracula.
Okay.
Ew.
I'm in.
Bela Lugosi type of Count Dracula.
It depends on. Well, see,
I'm so
it depends. Is this Nicolas Cage's doing a movie to make money? In which case,
good question.
Or is he playing Dracula and it's one of his? I'm just gonna go do my fucking thing.
The latter.
Yeah.
I'm watching.
I
Okay,
the
that'll be
latter.
good
I'm
then.
in.
Yeah.
I believe the latter.
That's cool. Awesome. Well, that more or less covers it.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
Take us home.
Hindsighters, it's been a romp. It's been a Nick Cage, Sean Connery collaboration. It's been Jerry Bruckheimer, Michael Bay, and Don Simpson. So this was a powerhouse of explosions, car chases, and everything in between. We appreciate you joining us in our studio for your drive time, your listening time, your setting a streetcar on fire time. We don't care what kind of time. This has been Darth, Adam, and Jason with Hindsight, and good night.